And we need to now look at the judges. But before going there, a map is given there, about the conquest, map of the conquest. Now, where is central region? If you look at it is marked in this green ink. Southern region where the conquest happened, it's marked there. So the name that is the places, northern region, marked there. So if you want to look at some of the maps, it is given there. That's what those maps are about. So let's go to period of Judges. Period of Judges. Historical background for Judges. First of all, the first problem, as we explained, this book of Judges, are the chronological problem. Chronological problem. So how do we explain when a number of years specified in the book of Judges, or the numbers that talks or referred in the book of Judges, you can calculate and it will end up like about 410 years. So that is the numbers that are given there in the book of Judges. If you calculate everything together, that's what you get. That including years of oppression and years the judges led Israel, years of peace achieved by the judges are treated as consecutive. If you calculate everything as a consecutive, then you get 410 years. I have given a small chart of the names of the judges, right? So how many? Yes, all the 12 names are given there, and years of judging, right? How many years of judging? References given there. Who oppressed, right? For example, oppression of Arameans and Moabites, Philistines, Canaanites, Midianites, Ammonites, and Philistines. These are all major names that you read in the book of Judges. Years of expression, some kind of hint we have, those years are given here. So I have given a chart here. Now the problem is the sum exceeds the parameters allowed in First Kings. That is a problem. Remember, I said we have, if you look at the calculator, join together all the numbers that are given in the book of Judges, you might get 410 years, right? But if you look at 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1, it offers us an approximate range for the period of Judges from the death of Joshua, that is 1380 BC, to the anointing of Saul. That is, the between time, right? From Joshua to the anointing of Saul, that is the period of Judges. And so if you look at the date, it is 1380 is the death of Joshua, 1050 BC is the time of the anointing of Saul. Calculating together, you might get about 330 years, right? So that means there is a huge gap here, 410 to 330. So that is the problem. So what is the solution to that calculation of the duration of Judges? So it is right, they ruled for 330 years. Judges ruled Israel after Joshua. So how do we, look at the calculation? Solution lies most probably in suggestion that various periods of oppression, deliverance, peace recorded in Judges were not always nationwide, but often local. As such, some of the judges were contemporaneous. So let's look at these points. Note the following possible suggestion of the solution in the book. For example, Shamgar's deliverance apparently occurred within the 80 years of peace assigned to Ehud. Shamgar, if you look at here, you see Shamgar in the chart. Of course, how many years? Nothing, but and Ehud has got 80 years. Maybe Shamgar joined together or part of. So Shamgar's deliverance apparently occurred within 80 years. It was within the time of Ehud, maybe Shamgar was in one local place. Judges 10 verse 7 suggests that Ammonite oppression of Transjordan that led up to Jephthah's deliverance coincided with the Philistine oppression west of Jordan, then ended with Samson's deliverance. So maybe Jephthah and Samson, maybe it was like same time period in different places of Israel. So we are saying, of course, we have all these judges. It doesn't mean that all these judges ruled Israel together. Doesn't mean maybe some of them ruled in a local area. Other minor judges apparently operated in rather small sections of Israel. For example, Jair in Gilead and Tola in Issachar could have easily been contemporaries. They're all ruled at the same time, not consecutively, not one after another. It is ruling same time. So some of the judges ruled at the same time. That may be a reason that if you calculate the years, you might get 410. But according to First King, it is about 330 years. Point number D, it also has been suggested that events of Judges chapter 1 verse 2 to chapter 2 verse 5 actually took place prior to death of Joshua. Even suggestion are there. Two factors lead this suggestion. For example, Caleb's victory in Judges also told in Joshua. So it's the same thing that is repeated. Caleb's victory. And the death of Joshua is detailed twice in Judges. You see, 1 verse 1 and 2 verse 8, which may also suggest that 1 verse 1 is a general heading and 2 verse 8 is a particular, like a small sections heading. The actual historical event of Joshua's death. Chapter 2 describes the actual death. Chapter 1 is the general heading for the book. So what we understand is book of Judges may also have recorded some of the things that are already took place in the book of Joshua. So this suggestion is plausible, but ultimately offers no substantial relief to the specific problem at hand. And the question is, we say it's not a watershed one. It's not a big issue for us. How many years? Okay, we wanted to put all the years together because some of the information we don't have. And so we will take tentatively that the verse from First King chapter 6, verse 1, that judges rule from the death of Joshua till Saul, anointing of Saul, which occurs about, which has 330 years. All right, Milid of the period of Judges. Now, what are we are going to look at various subjects now, especially major powers. What are the powers? In the ANE, so by now the word ANE, Ancient Near East, right? Broadly, the period of Judges was fairly quiet. Yes. Major powers of the region exhibited a very little interest in Palestine. For example, Egypt. Let's look at Egypt. What did they do? 18th and 20th dynasties of Egypt had no known contact with the Palestine. 18th and 20th, no contact. Dynasties have not contacted to Palestine at all. But in 19th dynasty, Egyptian dynasty, secular records record 3 Egyptian forays into Palestine. Maybe they tried to capture, but only one of these involved Israel. All right. For example, the pharaoh known as Sethi I captured Rafah, Gaza, and Akko and Tyre from the hostile powers of Philistia and Phoenicia. But no mention of Israel is made there, like all the region, just certain areas maybe in the southern side. Later, he fought with the Hittites, the same pharaoh, along the Orontes River in extreme northern Palestine and suffered a defeat. That is what we read. This pharaoh was defeated when fought against Hittites. Then there is Merneptah describes a battle in which he defeated Israel at Jezreel in 1230 BC. This incident is not mentioned in the Book of Judges. So there are a few incidents that secular historians tell about, that is especially in the 19th dynasty, Egyptian dynasty, as light attack. But mainly Egyptians were very quiet during the period of Judges, very quiet. Number two, the second group, that is in the Western Mesopotamia, the Hittites were the dominant power when Judges were there, right? In the west side. The west side. It appears that their involvement in Palestine during this period never exceeded a few outpost city-states, very few area. Now, they were very dominant, but in connection to Palestine, they did not invade the whole land. They're mentioned in Judges only in the indictment of Israel for taking Canaanites' wives, right? God indicted them. God said, you did wrong. You should not take these women as wives, but they did wrong. So God was making a case and charge against Israelites. That's it. So they were not attacking. They were a dominant power, but not attacking Judges or during Judges. Then in the east, Eastern Mesopotamia, you have the Kassites. Kassites asserted control of the southern region after the fall of Babylon in 1519 BC. So then what do we read? Now, this is, Babylon, when Babylon was in power, right? This is not during the Nebuchadnezzar. That's very later, like 586 BC. That was later. But this is even earlier, Babylon. Babylon was a great power throughout the world history. Yes. Though they never attained greatness, Kassites never attained greatness. They did, along with the Hittites in the west, divert the attention of the other major powers of the region, like Assyria, from expanding. So they did try a little bit in the southern side. One exception to this general rule is Tiglath-Pileser. First, marched to the Mediterranean in 1100 BC. This foray touched only very northern, most fringes of Israel, and not mentioned in the Book of Judges. So what we get this information from other books, yes, there was some attack from the Tiglath-Pileser, but still it's not mentioned in Judges. Now in Palestine, what happened at that time? The same groups described above continued to harass Israelites. Yes, in Palestine there are some groups, though the power of each group waxed and waned. For example, Arameans were judged by Othniel, right? So decisively that they did not reappear until the united monarchy, right? So they disappeared for a long time. Then Moab attacked Israelites and judged by Ehud. Then Canaanites were judged by Deborah and Barak. Right? And we read in the Book of Judges, Edom is not mentioned, but a subsidiary group, the Amalekites, were also judged by Ehud and later by Gideon. Then you have another one, Ammon was judged by Jephthah, yes. Then you have Philistines. They were judged by Shamgar, Samson, Samuel. But the impropriety of the Samuel's sons and his successor led to Israel's demand for a king, effectively ending period of Judges. So these are the main groups that were attacking Israelites, and Book of Judges talks about them. All right. Now let's look at the idea of Judges. What do you mean by Judges? Right? Yeah, well, what are we to understand? The English title Judges is somewhat misleading. Because the English term suggests that they were the people who were simply an arbiter in resolving disputes or determining guilt, handing down judgments. Right? Like someone who sits in a court of justice, who rewards good things and punish and who punishes evildoers. But no, biblical judges did function at times in this capacity, but rarely in the book of Judges. They were not like arbiter. No, the Hebrew word hashpad, right, or hashov, carries a much broader semantic weight. The biblical judges were active in each of these three distinct functions. What are those? Right? There are three things they were did. Right? Number one, they were military heroes. Judges were military heroes. Some of the judges of this period function in this capacity. For example, if you read Othniel, Ehud, Barak, Gideon, Jephthah, and Tola, all of them were military heroes. Others performed non-military heroic deeds like Shamgar and Samson. Samson is very famous, right, for bringing down all things. And, so yes, those were non-military heroic acts. Still others apparently did none of these things. For example, Jair, Ibzan, Elon, Abdon, and Eli, they did not do anything. But sometimes they were military heroes, right? Judges were military heroes sometimes. Now, second, this term is most prominently used in the sense of civil ruler. So it's not only someone who sits at the court, but a ruler, civil ruler. This broad usage mirrors the Syrian use of the term sepitum, sorry. Yes, the idea is taken from sepitum, a ruler. In this sense, judges served as unofficial regional kinglets, like a king in Israel, though none had dynastic rights. If they were kings, they had dynastic rights, but none had. But they were worked as a ruler, a king. Many of the judges functioned in this capacity. I think many of them, Deborah, Abdon, all the names. Gideon was offered a kingdom or dynasty, but refused. He said, no, I don't want to be a king, a dynastic, a throne. Yeah, these judges don't assume a throne. He refused, recognizing Yahweh as the legitimate, the only ruler of Israel. And Gideon's sons, however, squabbled over the right to rule after his death, to their great detriment, could not, right? So Gideon's sons tried, but did not. So yes, they were not kings. Why? Because there was no dynasty. King means so there is one dynasty, then their children come after them. That did not happen. That's the reason they were not called as kings, but still they were rulers. Third, biblical judges had a spiritual responsibility. They functioned as a spiritual guide. This function is first seen in Numbers chapter 11, where the theocratic anointing possessed by Moses was distributed among 70 elders. And then the elders became sort of sub-governors under Moses, who shared in both his civil and spiritual. So the elders of Israel, those 70 elders, worked under Moses for a spiritual oversight. In like manner, an anointing is explicitly extended to at least we know the record 3 judges like Othniel, Gideon, and Jephthah, and possibly Samson. And therefore, we presume that all the judges had this anointing to rule over Israel as God's representative. So, friends, the judges, when you look at that word, don't think that, okay, they sit in a court of judges. Its meaning is much more rich, right? It's taken from the word sheparim, taken from maybe an idea from Assyria, right? All right.